Hi, I'm Bram Weinstein, voice of the Commanders, here on a very special Legends event weekend as we're on the eve of retiring the number 28, the great Hall of Famer, Daryl Green. Throughout the evening, I'm going to be talking to a number of Washington legends, and it's brought to you by Equitrust. Here with the great Ricky Sanders.
Hey,
it's great to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
You know, it's interesting. I was watching Mayor Bowser's giving Daryl Green the key to the city.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about you at the White House
with Ronald
Reagan
man.
Looking for you to throw you a touchdown pass.
Man, that was one of the joys of my life, man, to get a pass from the president. But I just want to congratulate Daryl, man. This guy is a first-class person. I played against him in college. I went to Southwest Texas State. Daryl went to A&I. And just ask him, who broke down the sideline on him and he couldn't catch me. But we had a good time, man. Daryl, man, I used to work out with him in Houston. We used to run the hill. We get out there on the track running and doing all that stuff, man. But the person, he's unbelievable. You know, to play 20 years, love his family, love God most of all. And I remember going to his house doing Bible studies like my man was talking about, and he's straight up with you. You know, if he's a good friend, he's always going to give you the best advice to keep you going through life.
When you played against him in college, did you know he would be a special NFL player?
Oh, yeah. And he ran track, you know, and this guy he was so fast. I knew he had something special in him. But, you know, it was a little Division II school, you know, and A&I was competitive, but they just couldn't take Texas State. You know?
It's so interesting how many of you guys from those small schools ended up playing here.
Yeah, that's true, you know. A lot of guys came from Texas, from those small schools. You got schools in Texas right now, they play in 30,000. You know, they got 30,000 fans in the stadium.
Was it like that when you played?
When I played, it's probably about 10,000. It's big.
Yeah.
I mean, huge in Texas. So
yeah. What do you make of what the team is doing right now? Like, have you gotten a chance to watch them play here this year?
Yes, I live in Houston right now, man. I don't get to see a lot of the Commanders games, but I get to see a lot of the Texans and the Cowboys. But when I watch them, man, I love that quarterback, man. Daniels, he is a beast. You know, they got some good receivers. Defensively, if they can tighten it up a little bit, I think they're going to go into the playoffs and they can go in there deep. I think they can do some good things.
Ricky, last thing. What did it mean for you to play for this organization?
Man, it was life-changing, man. To win 2 Super Bowls here, be under one of the greatest coaches ever, Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cook, that was a good owner, and just the organization, you know, with these new owners, good people, and the fans here, unbelievable. Die hard. Every time I come back in town, it's like I've never left. You know, I go out to eat, I don't have to pay for nothing. They're like, Rick, come here. You know,
I'm gonna start hanging out with you.
That's what I'm saying. But I love D.C. and I love this area and I love the team, man.
Ricky, it was great. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Washington legend Mark Schlereth. Great to see you, Mark.
It's great to see you, Bram. Always good to see you, man.
So this is a big weekend for Daryl Green.
Yeah.
You played with Daryl Green. What can you tell us about playing with Daryl?
Oh man, obviously Daryl is an unbelievable human being. It's great a football player as he is and was, better human being. And I know everybody says that, but Daryl and I have we have always had this great, very close, connected friendship. And I think that's one of the cool things about our generation is oftentimes you are compartmentalized on a football team based on the positions you played.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of that with Washington, the Redskins back then. We were not compartmentalized. We were all connected. And so I was very connected with Daryl. I was very connected with Art Monk and with Charles Mann and Monty Coleman and, of course, all the guys that I play with on the Hogs. But my wife and Daryl's wife, Jewel, have been fast friends, and we essentially, helped raise the kids. And so we're a very connected family. And, to the point where their daughters used to come to our house in Colorado for Thanksgiving and leave the parents behind. So this is before they had families. So just a very connected group. We've always been that way. And, I'll remember back to my rookie year where, like, minicamp, we're running 40s for Lord only knows what reason on Sunday after 3 days of practice in a sheeting rainstorm, where everybody's got wet, sloppy cleats. We just practiced, won our first practice. And, like, the whole team would line up to watch Daryl Green run his 40. And, like, I remember like it was yesterday, we're all in this sheeting, just deluge. And the turf is sopping wet. You can see the water draining off of it. And Daryl stands up in that rainstorm and runs like a 4.2 flat. Like, it's just ridiculous after 3 days of practice and the whole 9 yards. And but just a unbelievable man. Always so committed to his family. Always so committed to the community. And, where the rest of us are packed in ice and doing whatever it is that we have to do to get ready to play next week. Daryl's downtown, serving in D.C. and doing the foundation and the learning centers and all those things that we all try to help support him with. But his energy was, he had this boundless amount of energy for service and for the community.
It's funny. Everyone famously knows what you went through with all the surgeries to continue your playing career. And you look at him and take one look at him and go, that guy played 20 years in the NFL. It's almost unbelievable that he was able to do something like that.
Really was. And I heard a statistic today that I'd never heard before. And I'm like, that's one of the most amazing stats I've ever heard. 19 straight years with an interception. Like, he played 20 years, 19 straight years playing cornerback in the National Football League where he intercepted at least one pass. It's one of those records when you hear it, you're like, that can't be true. That will never be broken. And so, yeah, his ability to stay healthy, 20 straight years without having a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Being the fastest man in the world and not having a hamstring injury. Like, how does that even, it doesn't even compute. In today's NFL, it's so interesting. There's so many injuries and you just wonder, like, what has changed and the way we practiced. And oftentimes I always say, man, we practice to be football players. And in today's game, a lot of the organizations train to be track stars.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a different way, it's a different game. And no question, he was such an unbelievable, tireless worker. Like we said, not only in community, but a tireless worker as far as taking care of himself and always being in top shape and always being ready.
So you're still deeply connected to the game. So you're very in tune with what's going on here. What do you see in Washington as they are rebuilding right now?
Well, first off, we always talk about culture, and culture is really that buzzword that everybody tries to put their finger on, but nobody can quite figure it out. And Dan Quinn and I have been friends for a long time, and to watch him operate is really cool. And to watch the connectivity that he has with his football team, from player to player, from coach to coach, from coach to player, is really, it's really fun to watch that because it brings me back, it harkens me back to kind of the nostalgic days when I played here and the kind of connection that we had as a football team. And
it's happening unusually fast.
Yes, but you talk to Dan Quinn, and it happened unusually fast, but there's an intentionality there. And that's the reason it happened so fast is there are non-negotiables here. We are going to play hard for one another. We are going to sacrifice for one another. We are going to, we're going to have this attention to detail. And if Dan Quinn was here and you cut off the mics, he would tell you we're not as talented as we need to be. But we have those other things, those intangible aspects to a football team that make that football team great. And that's something we have here, and it's something that's non-negotiable. And then, it's really cool for me to watch guys like Cliff Kingsbury, who brought in this air raid system into the league in Arizona and, had some success early, but it kind of fell apart. And to watch him get booted out of the league, which all of us get fired eventually, right?
Yeah.
But to watch him embrace that, to take some time away from that, and to say, what do I need to do to take what I know and what I can lean into and what I really have been passionate about my whole career and add to it and create something that's better, that's more adaptable to NFL style of football, and then to go out and find an Anthony Lynn and to revamp the run game coordinator, former head coach, former teammate of mine in Denver, and to connect with him to establish a running game, and then and then change personnel from offensive line to get tight ends that can really block, to condense formations, to understand the value of being under center, even though I have a young quarterback where the whole college game is shotgun, and to understand that, hey, man, shotgun has its place, but it also has its limitations from limiting maybe 30-40% of your run game, and you don't have your back turned to the defense on play action, so you don't get the same reaction. And like, to watch him amalgamate these two, kind of systems together and watch that stuff like really grow, and then to watch a young quarterback just absolutely flourish in that. And I know people here in the DMV are so excited, they should be, because he is that kid. I've gotten to sit down with him twice, man, and that is an awesome kid.
He is wildly ahead of the curve. All right, last thing. What did it mean for you to live in this community and play for this organization?
It was such a special time, and most of the time, like, I cut my teeth in the NFL as a 10th rounder out of the University of Idaho, because these guys believed in me, and it didn't matter that I was small school and pardon the pun, but small potatoes. They gave me an opportunity, and then they embraced me. The players embraced me, and I was instantly welcomed in, but I was held accountable. And there was a standard here, and a work ethic standard, and a preparation standard that was just the standard. And, it's funny, as you travel around the league, there are a lot of teams that think they're working hard, they think they're playing hard, they think they're preparing the right way, they think they're, sold out for one another, and they think they're doing the things the right way, and they're not close. I walk around and watch practices, and I'm like, this team's got no clue what it means to be connected, what it means to serve one another, what it means to play for one another, what it means. Like, I took the things that I learned playing here and ultimately playing at the University of Idaho, because we were that connected there as well, but playing here, and I brought them to Denver with me. And, and I sat down in front of our team and go, dude, we're, like, this ain't good enough. Like I came from a place that was a championship organization. I came from a place in Washington that when I played here, this franchise was a crown jewel. And, that those days left, and you can see it now. I think that's why there's so much excitement with the alumni here, and so much excitement in the DMV, is you can see that with this organization. You can see those glimpses of the past. You can see the future on the horizon, and you can see this organization all of a sudden becoming a crown jewel. Like, I do a daily television show on FS1 called Breakfast Ball, and you know how the national television game works. You worked in it for a long time. There's a bunch of teams you don't talk about.
That's right.
There's 6 teams that move the needle, and that's a public thing, man. That is like, hey, the NFL's this public trust, and here are the 6 teams that move the needle ratings-wise, and these are the 6 teams we're going to talk about. And it's fun for me to watch Washington, like, not be on that radar, but all of a sudden to say, we don't talk about Washington, but we can talk about Jaden Daniels. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, Jaden Daniels and Washington, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Hey, Dan Quinn and the Commanders. Like, you can start seeing that thing start to tick up, and that's why the excitement here is so strong. It's so amazing, and it's cool to be a part of it on the national television scene, because I'm watching it. I'm watching them move. Like, we've got a board, like, hey, these teams you can talk about, right? I mean, you know how it plays.
Houston did it a year ago. Washington's doing it now.
Absolutely. And it's really, really awesome to see. It really is. And having been able to sit down with Dan Quinn a couple of times and call 2 games, to sit down with Jaden Daniels and call 2 games, sit down with, Cliff Kingsbury. And like, I sat down in Arizona in the game I called in Arizona when Washington throttled the Cardinals, and sat down at 7:30 in the morning with Cliff, and, just shooting the breeze. He goes, oh yeah, Jaden was knocking on my office door at 5 a.m. this morning. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's talk about football. Like, there's that level of excitement, that level of preparation, that level of curiosity, right? Man, I want to know everything. I want to get better. I want to lead this team. It's just really cool to see.
Mark, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, here with Clarence Vaughn. Played on Super Bowl teams, got the rings to show for it.
2-time Super Bowl.
Yeah? How often do you wear those?
All the time.
Yeah?
If ask anybody, I'll tell you. I've always got the rings on.
You crossed over with Daryl Green, obviously.
Yes.
What was he like as a teammate?
Well, as a teammate, he was awesome, good example. I can tell you some stories about Daryl when I really got to know who he really was. We used to work out because they brought the rookies in during June when we got drafted. So they brought us in to work out for the summer. So we're working out. We're doing a hill. We're over George Mason. We're doing track work, 400s, 800s. We started at 9 o'clock. Now it's about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We go back to the hills again. We run back in, then we go in the field, do some leg work drills. All right, now it's about 12 o'clock. He said, all right, let's go get something to eat and come on back. I'm like, what? I'm going home, man. You go, see, that's why you're not going to play 10, 20. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play that long. I want to get 6 years here, 10 years, and get out. But watching his work ethic, him, Art Monk, those kind of guys, the Walter Paytons, if you look at those guys' work ethic, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how they push themselves. And one of the good things about Daryl, I thought he was blessed. I think the God of hand was on him because I've never seen anybody run a 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.19. So I saw him do a 4.2. And for me, I ran a 4.44. For me to get a 4.4, I got to get a good start. I got to get out of the black blocks. That first 10 yards, I got to get out. He ran the first 10 yards like slipped, and the next 30 was boom. And we're supposed to hit the clock. They go, oh, what he run? Don't worry about it. Just keep on going because you're supposed to run 2. He ran and the scally. Oh, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. He ran a 4.19. But going to battle with Daryl, he knows how to keep you level, without, panicking. Getting into the game, and the stuff he does is unbelievable. I was there when he ran that ball back against the Bears. He hurt his ribs and he ran that back and stuff. And but he's always been there as a big brother, confident, and things like that. And if you see a guy like that, that's small. To me, he was small because I was a strong safety and linebacker. Yeah. And so I'm saying if he's going at it hard, I'm going to go at it hard. So there's nothing I can do too. So I learned a lot. He's a good family man too. He's a good friend. Went to the church together. He always will challenge you, make you challenge yourself, to doing the right thing and all those things.
As you think back to that time, the glory era of the team, how do you think about it now and what made you so successful at the time?
Wow, I'll say it's funny. I watch these guys now. We were so prepared. We had Richie Pettibone as a defensive coordinator. I don't think Joe could have done it without him. I know he couldn't have done it without him because on both sides of the ball and special teams, we were well prepared. We worked hard. We pushed each other. We won most of our games in practice. I can't tell people. I tell people this there. You're not going to turn it on game day if you're not doing it in practice. If you're not making the plays, if you're not have guys coming at you hard. I'm talking the scout team. We was challenge each other in practice. We was challenging each other so hard. Certain teams we played, they were intimidated by us. I'll tell you an example. We had a guy named Rod Johnson who played for the Rams, a really ran the track guy. Daryl ended up running him down, but I know he used to catch the ball. I was on kickoff cover. So Wayne Sevier was the coach. He goes, this guy, he'll come out of here with 2 yards and he'll run the ball out. He'll run out of the end zone, so you got to get down there, guys, on the thing. I was like, what? Okay, so we're all pissing us off. So we go to L.A., we run down there, get some gun, catch the ball in the 2 yards in the end zone. I'm running down the railroad tracks to Hash. He takes a knee. I'm like, that just ran all the way down here. He goes, I watched the film. I saw the film. I said, okay. I just started laughing. He said, it's a business decision. I'm not coming out of here. I'm not running out of the end zone. I saw you guys, how you hit. But anyway, so you could see teams, and you could see the physicality that we had in our practice and in the game and stuff like that. So what really helped us, like I said, we challenge each other. And I think these kids right now are on the same path. They just stay focused on what they got to do and execute their plays. And the coaches put these guys in the right position where they can play, where they can make a play. That's all you can ask. You can only do your job in your position at that time. And everybody has to be successful. On every given play, 11 guys have to be successful. if one or two guys drop off, that's not good. And then we don't beat them up, but they know that's unacceptable. You don't have to have the coach tell you that and stuff like that. I hated Mondays if I had a bad game. He wasn't the coach, the players, and then the coaches. So it's terrible. So you never want to have that.
Clarence, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure meeting you too. Thanks a lot.
All right, here with David Windam. We can't have a Daryl Green chronology without recognizing what we're calling the replacement team now. Is that the
Yes.
proper terminology for
Yes.
it, the replacement team now? Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
What do you remember about that time?
Well, like everybody's been saying, he was above the above. He was one of the greats from day one when he got here. But I saw him as a teenager in Houston, Texas, because he used to work for my uncle. I come from Mobile, Alabama, and I see this little skinny kid to me. He's gonna make it to the league, and he's super fast and all this. I'm like, whatever. I'm a stud of an athlete that's a year younger than him, but he was real back when we was like 13, 14 years old. So I go that far back with him.
He worked for your uncle?
He used to work for my uncle, Joe James.
What did he do?
It was a fish market. So my Uncle Joe had several different businesses. He hired the kids in the neighborhood to do different odd jobs, corner store, the fish market, cutting grass, stuff like that. But Daryl was always around my Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
And he was like, here's what pro athletes look like, talking about me and my brother. Not knowing that, years later I would see Daryl in 1987 with the Redskins.
Did he find out whatever Daryl did he could do quickly, probably?
Yes. But Daryl, like I say, his belief was even back then when he said he found God when he got to the college. But he was always, he had this aura about him that you knew he was a godly man.
Yeah.
He didn't run around talking about it, and it was there. It was always there.
Tell me about that time as the replacement team just for a moment, because you were coached by Joe Gibbs.
Yes.
The team was winning. You guys won famously in Dallas. There was an amazing moment back in the 1980s where you guys won. When you think about that now, like what comes to mind for you?
Well, the fact that the team opened their arms and love us as regular Redskins, and we're no longer scabs, we're replacement players. But all of the original Redskins, they look at us when we come to the reunion, the alumni game. They don't look at us like we sideliners. They look at us as former professional athletes, and it's a great feeling. This is like my 6th or 7th one coming back to. It's great.
David, it's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Johnny, I'm told that you're faster than Daryl Green. You'd be the only person in the room that is.
Well, you know what? I came in '87, and when I came in, I got drafted in '87. When I came in, within 2 or 3 months, I was living at Daryl's house, driving his car, and he really adopted me. He's 4 years older than me, adopted me, and we trained together. Every day we did the hill work and stuff. So, people say I was the second fastest ever at the Redskins. I tell Daryl, I said, well, you felt my power and I felt yours, so we're gonna leave it at that.
Did you ever find out? Did you ever settle it? Did you ever race him?
No, we never settled it. We always trained together, and our training was really intense because he liked to win. I like to win too. So it got to a point where we was killing each other on the track, and so as me being the younger one, I started letting him win. So, but yeah, he was. He was fast. I know he was fast, and he in a corner, in the closet, he'll secretly say, "Oh yeah, he was fast too." So,
it's interesting. Like every person that sits down to talk about him, we know all the amazing things that he did on the field, but it sounds like it was so much more. Really.
Yeah, I call Daryl. He's my best friend. I live in Houston, Texas. He finally bought a home in Houston, Texas, and I keep it up. So every time we come to Houston, we sit around in the garage and stuff. Last time we sat around the garage for a couple of hours, talked about a whole lot of stuff, cried and everything. And it's such a great feeling to have a friend like him. We go way back. It's like the way the Greene family adopted me when I came in, and I've had a chance to see all the kids grow up. Garrett is my godson. Darrell is my baby, and Joy is my joy, so all the grandkids is my grandkids too. So it's such a great to be a part of the family, and and how they accepted me and loved me and stuff, and to play with Daryl, to play with him, to be a friend to him, to just admire everything he's done and what's going on. He was earlier today. He was crying. I said, Daryl, stop crying. And then I went up to him and said, hey man, you deserve everything you're getting. I said, I'm so proud of you. It's from the first day that I met you to now, I couldn't be more proud. So it's great for him.
Johnny, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
All right, here with the great Vernard Dean. You were a roommate of Daryl Green, a young Daryl Green, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Tell me about that experience with him.
So it's really like, for us, it's normal. You go to camp, you get a roommate. But I knew Daryl was special, and if Virgil C. come in here and he talked to you, he'll tell you why we all knew Daryl was special. The first play of one-on-ones, Daryl fell down on his face and got up 40 yards down the field, broke the pass up. First day ever going against the veterans, ever, in minicamp, rookie year, ever. That was my first time seeing him do anything, ever. So we all knew he was special at that time, but going forward, when we were roommates, it was, we just ballers, man, and we trying to accomplish the same goal.
When you see him do that in practice,
Yeah.
does everyone kind of stop and go, that's not supposed to happen?
There's always a wow factor, and you say, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
But some other people have more wow factors than others.
Yeah.
And I can say Daryl had more wow factors than a lot of us, because honestly, I had no idea what he did on Monday night his rookie year he was going to do. None. And he say this all the time. Had I gotten out the way, he might have caught Tony quicker.
Yeah.
Because I was on the field, the guy that he ran past last to catch him, that was me. So there are those wow factors. He just had more wow factors than anybody else.
Vernon, what did it mean to you to play for this organization?
They drafted me. I was their first pick in 1982. Fortunately, Bobby Bether saw something in me that at the time 27 other teams didn't see, and he chose me to come to this organization. And when I got here, I knew it was a great organization from top to bottom, because I just saw the commitment from the head coach, not only him, but the ownership, management, general manager Bobby Bether, by the way, who was an outstanding general manager. I mean, because he found gems under a carpet, under stones. That's how he found Daryl Green. And so I was blessed and fortunate to have an opportunity to come and play for this organization.
Vernon, it was a pleasure. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
man, appreciate it, man.
He's a former safety of the Washington franchise, Ken Coffey, played in the 1980s, and with Daryl Green.
That's it.
Right? And the first time you got together with Daryl or knew of Daryl was actually way before you played together in the NFL, right?
Yeah, we competed against each other in college, and Daryl ruined our perfect season, our national championship season. What I didn't share with you is we were undefeated, last regular season game of the season, and our district had, or our conference had, Alvin Garrett, who played at Angelo State. They had won the national championship. They had Abilene Christian. Wilbert Montgomery had won the championship the year before. Texas A&I had won the national championship numerous years. We were that kind of team, and we felt that good about it. And Daryl and Texas A&I rolled in, and they ruined our perfect season for us. We still won the national championship, but they ruined the perfect season. And what I didn't share with you is the very last play of the game was a flea flicker where we tossed the ball to Ricky Sanders. Daryl was on the other side, and to this day I maintain that Ricky would have outrun Daryl if they wouldn't have whistled the ball dead.
I don't know if you've seen Daryl run. I'm not sure if you're right about that.
Fram, this is my story, and I'm sticking with it.
You know, it makes me believe that the secret of the teams in the 80s and 90s wasn't Bobby Beathard and Joe Gibbs.
no.
It was somewhere in Texas.
Oh, it totally
under the radar football players.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I every time I see Mark Mosley, I hug him and tell him, "You're the only MVP of the league who's been a kicker." like I just love neat things like that, and I love the environment that Joe and Bobby created that would allow. Daryl will tell his own story, but I just get amazed at the number of people who passed him off as too small or not experienced enough. I mean, the hometown university that was in his neighborhood bypassed him twice. Make sure you have him tell you that story. But at the end of the day, you can look at it and it just becomes an inspiration to us. So
yeah,
if we keep trying, if we keep plugging, we can do some great things in life.
Did you know when you played against him in college that he could be what he ended up being in the NFL?
No. And that's not any disrespect to him. I knew he was extremely talented, but we're talking about 20 years, and we're talking about his ability. I saw Harold Carmichael a couple of months ago, and occasionally, 5'9" Daryl would cover 6'6" Harold Carmichael, and if that isn't a Mutt and Jeff mismatch, I don't know what is, and yet Daryl was able to hold his own. So I just think what people didn't see about Daryl, about Vernon, about a lot of us, is just how hard he worked, how he continues to work. He's in fantastic shape, but if you understand his discipline with his diet and the fact that he goes out and runs like he's 30 years old and he's trying to make his last season, it's not a surprise.
No. You played in the Glory era. What do you think of what you see right now with the Commanders?
I am so happy for Coach Quinn and the team. It's easy, to point to number 5 and say, it's on your back, and not taking anything away from him. But what the organization has to do is create an environment where players can be the best that they can possibly be. And that just doesn't happen with one person. It is literally one of my enduring images is seeing Rick Walker and Monty Coleman in camp going head to head. And it was like, this was my first training camp. And I'm telling you, Bram, that was like Raging Bulls in Yellowstone or something like that. It was just, I knew I had to step up my game in order to compete.
I mean, the story of those teams really are the team, the players, where they came from.
Yeah.
You had good quarterbacks, you had good coaching, you had stars.
Yeah.
But it was the team.
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely the team. And my greatest joy about all this is unfortunately for the individuals, we actually ended up cutting, second and third round players the first season because they weren't as good. And that went directly to the bottom line of paying a signing bonus in some cases of, a couple $100,000 or whatever. But, Joe Gibbs stood on the fact that they weren't the best 45 at the time on the team. And that's what we were going to go to battle with every week in and week out. That's what we were going to battle with. I remember one year we went to Green Bay. It was freezing. It was the coldest game that I've ever played in my life. And we had 2 guys who got signed in the middle of the year. They were from the South, and they just didn't understand how cold it could get in Green Bay. Bottom line is they really didn't leave the heaters on the sideline, and the next day they were cut. And Joe's point was, hey, if I can't count on you to show up in a regular season when it's tough, what makes me think that you're going to be tough in Chicago, in Dallas, in New York when we need you? And so maybe Darwinian, but I love the fact that I was there because I was the best at my position. And the guy to my right was the best and the left was my best, and I knew it. I knew it in my heart, just like they knew it.
Last thing, what did playing for this organization and being in this community mean to you?
Everything. My bride and I came here as a young couple. We had our children here. We had our lifelong relationships, whether I'm talking about the Monks, the Colemans, the Walkers, the Greenes, the Deans. Like, these are lifetime relationships that, once again, the environment allowed us to do that. On a professional basis, I knew the value of hard work. I don't believe I've ever been outworked professionally. I've been fired. I knew that, the sun would rise tomorrow and I would be in a position to do something great again. That's what this game gives you if you allow it to. And it's never about the person who replaces you. Like I'm excited for those guys after I get over it emotionally, because I know I replace someone, and that's the same thing that happens in life every day in some form or fashion. It's what did I take from it? How can I help me on the next part of the journey?
Ken, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, here with Sidney Johnson. You played with Daryl Green. What was the experience like?
Oh, I mean, it was a total experience for me. Like I said, day one, just made me feel welcome here. Put all my fears to rest. Showed me what it was like to be a true professional. Not only from just showing up every day and every week to work, but also off-season programs. The dreaded hills. Anybody that's ever worked with him over a period of time, they can thank him for their longevity in the league, just based on his work ethic and the kinds of things he was able to show you.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what did he do?
Well, I mean, just coming to follow him and see what he did to get himself ready for the season. We always went deep into the playoffs, so after that, your body needs to rest. The first thing we do, take 90 days off, and rain, sleet, or hail, we were back out there in 90 days at George Mason, working on our speed, working on our conditioning, getting ready for the season, as early as March. So, get all of the injuries healed and get back to it. And that's what he showed. Not just me, but a whole cadre of defensive backs and wide receivers would come and follow him out there.
You were part of a glory era team here. What did it mean for you to play for this organization? Coming into the organization, you see him on TV as a California kid, on the East Coast. You get to see, the Washington Redskins at the time, and being a Californian, it meant everything, because I get to see, an organization that had a lot of tradition, great coaches, great players, but everybody was a family, on and off the field. So that's what separated this organization from all the other organizations out there. Sidney, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
With Linden Trail, you're one of the people who've walked through here and didn't play with Daryl Green.
Yep.
So when you think about Daryl Green, what comes to mind for you?
So when I think about Daryl Green, the first thing that comes to mind is, to me at least, is someone that's a follower of Christ, number one. I think that's important because I'm also a follower of Christ, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Number two, he came from a small school, so that's something I can resonate with coming from Norfolk State. There's always going to be a knock on a smaller school, people telling you that you didn't play against the best competition. But just looking at Daryl Green's highlights over the years and understanding the adversity he overcame in order to be to where he is today, such a blessing, man. And that's something that's very admirable and something that I looked up to as a former Redskin.
I mean, comes small school, small guy, 20 years. It's really amazing. I mean, it's almost mind-boggling when you say it out loud.
Yeah, 20 years of anything is nuts, man. He's definitely somebody that trained and worked on and off the field just as hard as the next person and really took care of his body. The man's about 66 right now. And I'm constantly writing him on Instagram, and for him to be so humble to take a youngin' like myself and write me back and just give me words of wisdom, that's a blessing. But if you ever see the videos that he's posting at about 66, this man is still as fast as he probably was 20 years ago.
It's embarrassing, actually, for all of us.
Yes, it is.
What do you make of what the Commanders are doing? Have you watched them at all this year?
Yes. So I've been to several games. I've kind of made it my point to come back this year under the new ownership. As you can see, the atmosphere feels amazing. The city's on fire. We're loving what we're seeing. I love the fact that Dan Quinn, who used to be my defensive coordinator at the University of Florida, has brought home ties back here. There's a young cat by the name of Bobby Price right now that also went to Norfolk State and donned the number 7 just like I did. who signed with us not too long ago. So I'm excited to be back in the city. You can feel the love, and I love where this organization is headed. The ownership has said it themselves. They want all of the alumni back, and we definitely feel the love.
Real quick, what was your experience like playing for Dan Quinn?
Oh my God, Dan Quinn is somebody that, and which I told today at the walkthrough. I told him, when I initially met you, I hated you. Because for a young brother that's coming from a city like Miami, no one really held me accountable. I was a 5-star guy coming out of high school, and I kind of, big man on campus. But Dan was the first person that told me that, hey, understand something. Any and everything that you do, I'm going to hold you accountable for it. And he also taught me that if a coach stops coaching you, that's when you should be worried. But when he's really on you, he wants to see the best out of you, and he wants to see the best potential that you have.
Lyndon, thank you so much.
Thank you.